Hello, my name is Rick Lewis. I'm a professional speaker, and my aim with some of these videos is just to educate anyone who would like to speak professionally about some of the things that you're going to need to know how to do, steps you'll need to take in order to progress and become successful and get more bookings as a speaker. So today I'm talking about capturing client videos. This is arguably one of the most important things you could do at a speaking function. Ordinarily, we would probably think of speaking as being the responsibility to bring value to the audience, entertain, inform, educate them, and of course, that's true. But your number one goal, I'd invite you to hold as your number one goal, getting an awesome client testimonial. And if you think about it, what goes into getting a raving review from a client? Well, you would have to do a good job. So naturally woven into getting a great client testimonial is to think far enough ahead for your presentation that you really know who this audience is, that you're saying something valuable, that you're doing whatever kind of rehearsal or practice you need so that when you're in front of the room, what you have to say or the way you have to entertain is going to flow and is going to connect with the audience. So the goal of getting a client testimonial it takes into account the entire necessary process of doing a good job as a professional speaker. And if you don't, no matter how good a job you do, of course, you'll get people in the room who walk away and you have the chance that they'll talk about you to somebody else. But for you to get the client testimonial, or a testimonial from an audience member. It doesn't even have to be from the client. The objective here is to capture at least one, if not several, testimonials from people who have seen you present, who are just lit up about what you've just done. Now, I do not talk to my clients beforehand about a client testimonial. I don't say, hey, by the way, when I'm done, if you could give me a testimonial, that would be great, or anything to that effect, because I don't want them to feel nervous or awkward or try and fend me off in advance, because a lot of people are uncomfortable talking on camera. And if you give them advance notice and say, I'd like to get a client testimonial from you, often they'll say something like, oh, well, I'm not the right person. I'll get so-and-so to do it. Or maybe you could get one from an audience member. So the way to get a client testimonial is you do a kick-butt job. And then when that client walks up to you after the presentation is over and they're glowing and they start into a sentence about how well it went, here's what you do. And it takes some tact, it takes some massaging to do this really well. But when the client comes up and they're saying, oh my gosh, thank you so much, people enjoyed that so much, you let them talk for a second and then you say, would you be willing to put your thoughts on camera for me? I have my phone right here. We could just step aside. I am so grateful for the feedback you're giving me right now, and that would help me so much to be able to do this for more people if you'd be willing to just pick up with what you were saying on camera. We can just step aside, and if you're willing, that would help me out so much. And very often in the flow of, they've started the sentence, wow, that was so wonderful. Very often they'll kind of look at you like, well, I would like to protest, but there's really no reason to, because you did great. I'm excited and we can get it done right now. And then I will find a space. So if you're right in the event room, it's probably going to be noisy and loud. It's okay. In fact, it's really good to have the background buzz of the after event kind of environment. But if there's too much noise, it'll be hard to hear the words of the client, especially if it's after an event that a meal was being served. Often if the event is over, you'll have the catering staff move right in and start clearing dishes. The noise of clattering plates and utensils being cleared off of tables is not ideal. to have in the background. So when the client says, yes, I would be willing to do that, you can step aside, you can go out into a hallway. If it's a nice day and you're in a resort environment or a nice hotel environment, you can find a nice spot outside somewhere. Just find some place that's quiet, has good light, or even just a corner of the event room that you're in where there isn't too much noise, and that'll work well. Now, if the client objects and starts to balk when you ask, they might say something like, oh, well, I'm not so comfortable on video, or I'm not so good on video. What you say is, oh, you know what? It doesn't matter. We're just going to have a conversation just like the one we were starting, and I do all the job of putting it together. I can edit together bits of your comments, and I'll just use a few pieces here and there in the flow of our normal conversation. You really don't have to do anything different than we were just doing a minute ago. And that will usually make them feel comfortable, especially when they know it's not a one-take thing. So I say, I'm just going to hold my phone like this, and you and I are just going to talk, and you can stop and start as many times as you want to, and I'll do the editing on the back end. And that very often relaxes somebody who you're asking for a testimonial. So I will give them the direction to start with their name, the name of their company, and their position in the company. You want that. And then often, if you're getting a name, now, if you've been dealing with the client, you'll know the name well. But if it's not a client, and say it's an audience member who's come up to you after the presentation, and this is key, is that you want somebody who's really excited about what you've just done. So if the client is still saying goodbye to guests, and another audience member walks up and starts gushing about how much they loved your presentation, you just go through this exact same process with that audience member. So you just stop and say to them, hey, would you mind? I would be so grateful if you would be willing to just say what you're saying to me now on camera so that I can use it as a client testimonial, because that really helps me to do this for more clients. And I love what I do. I'm so glad you appreciated it. You would really help me out if you'd be willing to do a testimonial. And so that's what you want. You want someone who's lit up, and you just want to manage them right into the flow of continuing that conversation, but on camera. When you're filming, first thing is you want to be in landscape view. So don't hold your phone this way, hold it in landscape view, and make sure they're centered in the landscape view, because that way, if you want to repurpose the video for social, even when you go vertical, if you crop it vertical for the video, they'll still show up in the center of the frame. So always go landscape. So you have the option of doing it for like a desktop version for a 16:9 ratio. And then you can crop it if you need to. So I'll always go landscape. And then you want to center the person's head about where my head is in this frame right here. So you want them in the top third of the frame or so. You can get a little bit closer. So you could have them something like this in the frame. Not too close, not too far away. Also, probably because, if you try and wire people up with a mic, which I tried to do for a while, I had a wireless mic I tried at one point. I even had a clip-on mic. It's too much. People get a little bit too freaked out. It's too much production, so I stopped doing that. I just use the audio off my phone, and this is my iPhone. The audio is actually quite exceptional, as long as there's not too much background noise. And you just hold it close enough. So I'm about... from the client, I'll be about 3 feet away, 2 or 3 feet away. The audio will come out sufficiently. And the frame, again, face in the kind of upper third of the frame. Make sure there isn't a strong background light. So if the sunshine is coming through the windows, don't put them up against a window where there's a lot of light coming in, because then the contrast will show their face being really dark. Try and position the client facing a light source. It could either be from above, from the lighting inside of a ballroom or a conference room, or natural light is even better from a hallway or an outside window, or if you go outside, if the weather's good enough, that is ideal too. The other thing I always say to set people at ease is if you need or want me to show you the edited version before I post it anywhere, I'm absolutely happy to do that. Just let me know. And in almost 100% of the cases, once someone gets comfortable and they've given their testimonial on camera, very, very rarely do people say, I need to see that before you post it. People are really happy to give this kind of testimonial, and then they feel really good about it at the end, especially somebody who feels awkward and nervous and isn't sure they can do it. When you coach them through it and get them to actually give you that testimonial and get to the other side, they feel great about that, especially when you're saying, oh my gosh, thank you so much. That was perfect. That's exactly what I needed. I really appreciate your help. It'll just make them feel like $1 million. And you then have a testimonial, an extra testimonial to take and put on your website. I'll put a link in the comments here to my page that's got my testimonial page for video testimonials. So you can see what my client testimonials look like, how I formatted them, how it sounds, how it comes out in the different environments that I've done it in. And that's it. So really, really important. If you want to speak professionally, you must get client testimonials. It will drive your close rate for gigs tremendously. So very important thing. Make sure you do it. For me, when I started doing this years ago, maybe 15 years ago is when I realized I have to be capturing these. It was really hard at first. It's very awkward to ask someone to sing your praises on camera and record it. But over time, it gets easier. The more you do it and the more you have success with it, the more natural it will feel for you to make that request. And the less nervous and awkward you are about making the request, the more you're going to get people to cooperate with that request. If you feel really nervous and like I shouldn't be doing this, then it's going to make the other person feel nervous and awkward. Like, okay, why does this feel weird? So you just got to ask. Just no matter what, don't walk away without at least asking for the client testimonial, because you should think of it that your keynote isn't done until you have asked for and captured that client testimonial. It is actually part of your job as a speaker to get that client testimonial. So I know I'm going on and on about this, but I cannot overestimate how important this is and how important it is to get over the hump of any discomfort you have of asking for it and capture these testimonials early in your process, because you'll learn something about how you did in the process, as well as develop this record and history for other potential clients that shows you've done this before and it's worked in a variety of environments. I have a whole list of testimonials from different industries. So if I have a client come to me who's in the finance industry, I can go back over 100 different testimonials and find half a dozen of them from finance and take those and send them to the client for review. And that just helps so much to make the case that you're the right person for the job. Okay, I think that's enough. There are probably more aspects to this I'll think of as soon as I stop recording here. And if I think of them, I'll put them in the notes to the video. But that's it for now. Good luck with your presentations and with getting those testimonials.